Welcome back to the Deep Dive, where we dive deep into fascinating stuff, you know. And today, oh boy, today we're heading way back to ancient Japan, the world of samurai and swords and strategy. We're talking Miyamoto Musashi.
Miyamoto Musashi, yeah.
If you've ever wondered what made this guy tick, how he became such a legend, you are in the right place. We're going to break down his teachings, those epic battles he fought, and try to get inside the mind of the swordsman himself. But first, got to give a shout out to the folks who make this deep dive possible. RaptorocK MMA and Fitness. If you want to level up your own martial arts game, head over to www.raptorok.com and check them out.
Absolutely, they're great.
And of course, huge thanks to Mixed Martial Arts South Africa for their awesome work in growing the sport right here.
Yeah, they're doing great things.
Okay, so Miyamoto Musashi, he's like almost mythical, right? This warrior philosopher lived and breathed strategy.
Oh, absolutely. Musashi, he was born into a Japan, early 1600s, just riven by conflict. Like, back then, a sharp sword and a sharper mind.
Right.
That was the difference between, well, life and death, really. And Musashi, he had both in spades.
Yeah, and you see it in his record, right? Undefeated in over 60 duels. 60. Starting when he was, what, 13 years old? It's insane. Sounds like an action movie hero.
And that's the thing. It's not made up. This was a real guy testing himself constantly, life or death stakes. That's where his whole philosophy was forged, you know. It wasn't just winning, it was how he won. Analyzing, refining, every fight was a lesson.
And you wrote it all down, right? The Book of Five Rings, which I gotta admit, I'm picturing like ancient scrolls, calligraphy, the whole deal.
Not far off, actually. 5 scrolls, each named after an element. Earth, water, fire, wind, and emptiness.
Whoa, okay, so not your average book.
No, but it's not like a dry textbook either.
Yeah.
And Musashi, he uses some really vivid language, almost poetic sometimes. He wanted to make you feel these ideas.
Okay, I am intrigued. So where does someone even begin with Musashi's teachings? What's the starting point?
The Earth Scroll. That's the foundation, the bedrock. It's funny, he actually compares his swordsmanship to carpentry.
Carpentry.
Yeah, sounds weird, right? But it shows how much he stressed the underlying principles no matter what you're doing.
So like, just as a carpenter needs to know their tools, how to build something that'll last, a swordsman needs that same mastery of the fundamentals.
Exactly. Musashi believed in that strong foundation, understanding what he called myriad things by means of one thing. So if you get the essence of something, you can adapt to any situation.
So it's not about memorizing 1,000 different moves, it's knowing the core principles behind them.
That's Musashi in a nutshell. He even criticizes other sword fighting schools later on in the Wind Scroll. And it's not just him being a sore winner. He saw real problems in those overly complicated styles.
Too much flash, not enough substance.
Exactly. He was all about directness, adaptability. It's what makes his stuff still resonate today.
Right. Timeless. So we've got this solid earth foundation. What about water? The water scroll, what's that all about?
Now, this is where things get really interesting. Musashi talks about this idea of striking without thought or form. Basically, reaching a state of pure instinct reflex.
Wait, so thinking too much in a fight, that's a bad thing?
Well, yeah. His point is, you train hard enough, you reach this point where your body just reacts. Perfect timing, precision, no thinking involved.
Like a reflex, but with swords. Deadly reflexes.
It's more than that, though, right? He's training his mind AD body to act as one, to respond instantly to any threat.
Man, and you can see how that principle, even though it's rooted in sword fighting, it applies to today, right? Like those high-pressure moments where overthinking gets you nowhere. You need to trust your gut, your training.
Exactly. That's Musashi's normal mind, that calmness under pressure. And it leads right into the next scroll, the Fire Scroll.
Yeah, the Fire Scroll, this is where things heat up, like the name suggests. Musashi really breaks down the strategies, the psychology of facing an opponent. One-on-one, bigger fight, doesn't matter.
Okay, now we're talking. So what's the secret sauce? How do we apply some Musashi wisdom to come out on top? I'm ready.
Get ready, because this scroll, it's got it all. He talks about using, like, psychological warfare even. His famous 3 shouts technique, that's in here. And the importance of, he calls it, knowing the state of affairs.
Hold up, 3 shouts. Is that like some kind of battle cry thing? Intimidation?
It's more about, think of it like disrupting their focus, right? You're controlling the tempo. So your opponent's ready to strike. Bam, you hit him with these powerful shouts, throws him off balance, maybe creates an opening you can exploit. So it's strategic, not just yelling. It's about using those shouts at the right moment to break their concentration. Man, Musashi was playing chess while everyone else was playing checkers, huh?
Yeah.
And this whole knowing the state of affairs, that sounds pretty crucial too. What's that all about?
It's like being hyper aware, right? Not just what your opponent's doing, but everything, the environment, their little movements, even like a shift in their attitude. You're gathering intel constantly in the heat of the moment to give yourself an edge.
So not just a skilled fighter, but a really observant one. You're always analyzing, adapting.
100%. And that brings us to the scroll of emptiness. This is where Musashi, he goes beyond just the physical stuff, deep into the power of the mind.
This is the one that always kind of blew my mind, you know. Emptiness sounds, I don't know, philosophical, little zen.
It is, yeah. This scroll, he's talking about reaching this state of mind that's clear, uncluttered, no fear, no hesitation. Because he believed if you can empty your mind of all that garbage, you react purely, instinctively, in any situation.
So it's quieting that inner critic, you know, that voice that wants to overthink everything. You let your training, your gut, take over.
Exactly. Because in the middle of a fight, your own mind, that's your worst enemy sometimes. Or it can be your greatest weapon. Musashi knew that. He trained his students to find that normal mind. Calm, aware, right in the middle of chaos.
It's like that thing athletes talk about, being in the zone, right? Where everything slows down. You're just reacting, pure skill.
Exactly. And what's cool is he ties this emptiness back to the physical stuff, you know?
Yeah.
From the other scrolls.
So it's not just fighting without thought. It's reaching that mental state where you can fight like that. Everything connects.
Yeah. And remember how much he stresses adaptability throughout the whole book. Scroll of Emptiness says, hey, real adaptability, it starts in your head. Flexible mind, responsive.
Mastering yourself just as much as mastering the sword.
Exactly. And that's what makes this stuff relevant to us today, even.
Right. That normal mind under pressure. Deadlines, tough conversations, just everyday stress. He's like anticipating the modern world, even back then. Wild. So how does this all play out in his own life? His battles?
That's where things get really good. Got to talk about his duel with Sasaki Kojiro.
This is one for the history books, right? Musashi versus Sasaki Kojiro. Like the stuff of legends.
Oh, absolutely. This was more than just a duel. It was two masters at their peak, going head to head. Everyone wanted to see it.
And Musashi, he shows up late, doesn't he? Almost like he's playing mind games already.
He does, hours late. And get this, on his way to the island, he carves himself a wooden sword from an oar.
No way.
Swear to you, a wooden sword. Some people saw that as disrespectful, you know, arrogant even. But others, they say, no, that was Musashi in control. He's messing with Kojiro's head before they even cross swords.
There's that knowing the state of affairs again. He's using everything to his advantage, even time.
Exactly. And the duel itself, just as sharp. See, Kojiro, he was known for this move, the swallow cut. Blazing fast, deadly. Musashi knew he couldn't just match that speed head on.
So what do you do?
Used it against him. He hangs back just outside the range of the swallow cut, makes Kojiro overextend himself, and then, bam, perfect timing, Musashi takes him down.
Wow.
It's adaptability in action. He knew his opponent's strengths, and he found a way to exploit the weakness hidden inside it.
It's like he was playing a completely different game. Everyone else is focused on speed, power. Musashi's thinking 3 steps ahead, changing the rules.
He wasn't there to just win the fight. He was proving a point. And that's what makes him different. Every duel, every fight, it was all about pushing further, you know, refining his understanding of strategy, of self-mastery.
So someone like that, someone who lived and breathed this stuff centuries ago, what can we learn from him today?
It goes way beyond just fighting, right? That normal mind he talked about. Staying calm, focused, under pressure. We all need that. Deadline at work, tough conversation, even just getting through a crazy day.
Right. And knowing the state of affairs, that's not just about a duel. It's about being present in your life, aware of what's around you, the little details, the undercurrents. That's valuable everywhere. Work, relationships, all of it.
Totally. Musashi teaches you to be adaptable, never stop learning, refine your approach. True mastery. It's a journey, not the destination. And sometimes you got to break the mold, do things your own way, like he did with his two-sword style.
It's wild that these ideas from a samurai back in, 17th century Japan, they still hit so hard today.
It's because they work. His stuff on strategy, self-mastery, the power of your own mind, it's as true now as it was back then.
Crazy. Well, this has been an awesome dive, I got to say. Before we wrap up, any final thoughts on Miyamoto Musashi? What's his legacy?
He was more than just a swordsman, you know. He was a philosopher, a strategist, an artist even. He challenged everything, and in doing that, he left behind this body of work that still gets people fired up, thinking, even arguing centuries later. That's something.
It is. And hey, speaking of getting fired up, who knows? Maybe we'll see some of that Musashi spirit on display at First 11 and Grappling coming up November 2nd. heartfelt arena in Pretoria.
Would not surprise me.
Always awesome to see how those timeless principles, the strategy, the skill,
Yeah.
how it all comes together in modern warriors.
Absolutely. Musashi's legacy lives on, no doubt about it, and everyone pushing for excellence, whatever their arena is.
Beautifully said. Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive into Miyamoto Musashi. Hope you enjoyed the journey. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep into the things that fascinate you.